Investing isn't easy. Sometimes it can feel that the world is conspiring against you, no matter what you do. As an example, oil. Oil prices edged higher Thursday, but only after recent hefty losses blaming the outbreak of the coronavirus in China. Overall, the oil market has posted 5 losing weeks in a row, and this week looks like it's going to extend the run. The combined losses leave the oil complex in a bear market territory. It's difficult to see much upside for oil prices unless there are significant cuts to producer levels. Global oil demand is now set to see its first quarterly contraction in more than a decade. The International Energy Agency had expected world fuel consumption to grow this year, but with weakness in China and the U.S. reporting a jump in stockpiles, further weakness is expected. Nothing but bad news. And so that's how it feels to be a contrarian. And being the innocent investor, it seems like the world is against you and you just want to yell out, "Don't shoot me! I'm only the piano player." So, if you are a humble piano player and you hold some energy shares, say, like in Marathon Oil, what should you do? Well, let's take a look. Marathon Oil just announced the company's fourth quarter earnings report. For the full year, Marathon's profit fell 56% year over year to $480 million from the prior year's $1.1 billion profit as revenues dropped 21%. Capital One says Marathon's fourth quarter was slightly negative, citing weak cash flow. JP Morgan sees a mixed reaction to Marathon's results, stating that 2020 international guidance will be hurt by maintenance and weaker prices. So, in short, the fundamentals say it's a little bit too early to invest in Marathon Oil. But let's take a look at the charts to see what they say. So today we're going to go through the three charts, the monthly, the weekly, and the daily on Marathon Oil real quickly. So we're looking at the monthly chart that goes back to 2011. And this is Marathon Oil Corp. The symbol is MRO. For disclosure purposes, I do not hold any shares of Marathon Oil at this time. So from the price chart, the important things to take a look at, the bottom there in 2016, the interim bottom here, 2017, and then the current level where we are here with the close on Thursday of $11.11. And that was down 50 cents or a hard 4.3%. Tough day, but we'll look at that. Into the MAC, you can see that the maximum negative point was there in early 2016. Here was the interim low in 2017, and then here's where we are currently. In my humble opinion, things have definitely improved, even though it doesn't necessarily show up in the price yet. Definite improvement over these past several years. Now, it looks like we're trying to bottom here. Doesn't quite show there in the MAC, but the fast line is closing in a little bit on the slow line here. We're at a negative 1.4, so it's not too bad, not too negative. Going here into the histogram, you can see that the bottoming process has begun. Into the price rate of change, same thing. Relative strength, not as positive, but you can see the bottoming. Interestingly, of course, on these oscillators, go back to 2016, and you can see the improvement. So things are improving, even though it might not show up in the price. Here in the stochastic, looks like it's real close to moving, turning over with the fast line moving through the slow line. Not quite yet. We're getting close. Again, it's not quite timed by the charts either, but we're very close. Volume looks fine. And then the William looks like definite bottoming here. Hasn't run on up. That's going to be your signal. As soon as the Williams heads on up, that's going to be a signal. One of the other signals for me, one of my main signals, is when the fast line crosses through the slow line on the way up. That's my buy point. Not there yet. Let's go to the weekly chart. And here we are with the 3-year weekly on Marathon and the current price here seems to have gone below here. Now, I think the weekly is going to show us the key to what's going on with Marathon Oil. But again, back here in 2017, that was the interim low there. So we're still slightly above that. So we're doing okay. Now, this came down here just below there, about equal to what it was back in 2017. So it's still pretty soft. And you can get that softness, that weakness in these sort of times when you do get something out there in the news that hits the energy sector as well as other sectors. So moving here again in the weekly, you can see the improvement. Now, the downtrend on the fast line is just started and closed through that slow line. So we have more weakness to come, perhaps. I would imagine this is going to come on down here and then hopefully bottom and head back up. So that means we may have a few weeks to go. So it's still a little bit early. And the weekly here is going to be the signal for you. The monthly is good and the daily is good, but right now I think the best perspective is from the weekly. And here into the histogram shows that we just went negative and we may be negative here for a while. Also into the price rate of change, same thing, fast line closed through, the slow line heading down, not too negative. Into the RSI, looks like it's heading on down. Again, it's not too bad, but still heading on down. And definitely into the stochastics, the fast line and the slow line are both heading on down. Shows that it hasn't quite bottomed yet. Here in the volume picked up in the last several weeks. That's not too much of a problem. I don't like to see that, but we can deal with it. And then here with the Williams, we bounced off of that negative 100. We only came up here. I'd like to see it move on out of that oversold territory, get above that negative 80 level, head on up to that negative 50 or midline. Hopefully that's going to happen here within the next few weeks. Back up to the price chart. So you can see that it's still not quite ready for marathon. We're getting close, but we could be several weeks, maybe a month or two or so away, depending upon how the coronavirus does play out here. Because China is a big buyer of energy, and that's going to be weak here while the focus is on the virus. Let's go to the daily chart now. All right, and this is the 6-month daily on Marathon. And today you can see here, and I like this long tail here. Basically, it started out down hard in the morning because of the earnings that just came out. And a lot of the negative Nellies bailed. What happens is typically in the morning, that's your retail investor. Later in the afternoon, that's your professional. And in the afternoon, it came up and closed higher than definitely the bottom. So not all the way up here. There still is a gap, and that does show that there's some weakness. But that's okay. We can deal with that. Now let's take a look here. In the previous downtrend from here, it came all the way through to here and then took a couple of months before it finally got enough steam to head on up. So we're at the beginning stages here, and I think we're pretty low, and I think that it is going to set up a bottom close to this level here. So we may have to go sideways for a couple of months before it can pick up the steam and head higher. Let's go into the MAC. This is also very telling. I love these kind of formations when you get this separation. It closes in, but then it gets reflected back. Now this got reflected back twice, but it's starting to go sideways, and I like that. So that means it's gaining strength. Such as here, it came up and it tangled with the slow line for a bit and finally started moving. Now the actual price didn't really start going until we hit that level here near the zero line. So this is going to have to improve. Both the fast line and the slow line get closer to that midline or zero line. And again, it's going to take it probably a few weeks or so. And you can see that here in the histogram as well. Improvement there in the price rate of change. Looks like the RSI is strengthening. So is the stochastics. Now we did have a very negative day, but I don't think that's going to be a long-term problem. Into the Williams. The Williams is still struggling down here, but soon enough it's going to bottom and it's going to head up. So back up here And one last message for the piano man. I think you have some time, and it's never fun to be down here and you're subject to the whims of the market. And when there is weakness, people tend to sell and ask questions later. Well, just stick it out. You're a contrarian, and you know that there is going to be a rotation back into energy sooner or later. And you can hang in there because it will come. It may be sooner or it may be later, but it will come. So hang tight. And for today, that's ChewDog Charts. Thank you.